You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
A massive search is underway to find 11-year-old Parker, last spotted more than 24 hours ago.
He's had plenty of time to move, so we were asking that the entire city of Calgary check their yards, check their sheds, check their garages, any place where a child may go. We're asking everyone in the city of Calgary to check that. I will confirm that he is autistic and functions between a 2 and 3 year old level.
You are listening to Canadian Gothic.
Ms. Madeleine Klein, every so often something seems to happen in this country that I call it like a drop everything moment. Something in the news, a missing persons case in this situation that we're going to be talking about tonight, where everybody in society unanimously agree that this is something that everyone needs to pay attention to. And that's going on right now in Calgary, Alberta, with the disappearance of 11-year-old Parker Wells. Now, you and I are both parents. I know as a parent myself, this story is every parent's worst nightmare. It's completely unimaginable what's happening in Calgary.
You want to have empathy and try and relate to the person, but then also you're so thankful that you haven't had to experience this. Mm-hmm. Everyone says, "Oh, I can't imagine." But we actually can't imagine because we've never, we can try and imagine on how terribly horrific that would be. But that's a small club you don't want to be part of.
Yeah. And there's layers to it. It's it's even hard for myself and probably you as well to even imagine how it would feel to have a child with unique and special needs like Parker's parents are experiencing. He's an 11-year-old who functions more like a 2 or 3 year old. So even putting myself in the headspace of how you would feel the need to protect someone like that you love so much the way you do a child, I can't imagine that. To have something like what we're going to be describing tonight play out, it is absolutely horrific. I want to jump right into it because this is a story I think a lot of people listening probably heard a little bit about on the news. Whether you're in Canada or the United States, this story I'm hoping is a news item. But when you actually go through it piece by piece and look at what happened, what we know, what we don't know, it just gets worse and worse. And on top of that, as the time stretches on, we're recording this on the 10th day of searching for this boy, and it's painful to see the clock continue to tick. But let's get into it and start with just a little bit of a talk about Parker, who he is, what his life is like. What do you know about him?
I just know that he is an 11-year-old boy in Calgary, Alberta, who he functions at a 2 to a 4-year-old. Yeah, he goes to a day home, which you weren't clear about what a day home was when you first heard this.
And the more I read about day homes and respite care, I'm learning a lot as I go. But we'll get into a bit about the care Parker was getting at the time he disappeared. But you summarize him pretty well. He's an 11-year-old boy, functions like a 2 to 4 year old. Has autism. He's nonverbal, so he doesn't speak. He is what I would call a lanky kid, 4 feet, 11 inches, only 90 pounds. So this is for, you take a bunch of 11-year-olds, the guy who's 4 foot 11 and 90 pounds, be a tall, skinny 11-year-old.
I didn't really put that into perspective. I read it and I was like, oh yeah, but no, you're right. I never really thought of that.
Parker wears regularly and wore at the time of his disappearance a large pair of noise-canceling headphones. So they're just these big black headphones, and the point of them is just to reduce the noise. As someone who
that's super common, especially among neurodivergent people.
But what also is important to know and understand about Parker, and this has come up through some of the press releases from the Calgary Police Service, is that he's someone who is known to be able to open doors, go in rooms, shut doors behind him, and access small spaces. So they didn't elaborate too much on what that meant, but reading between the lines, I'm thinking does this mean he's maybe known to kind of hide or, kind of get away? It's hard to say, but reading between the lines, that's what I'm kind of putting together.
That's what I got out of it too. And you kind of touched on this before, but that just adds another layer of sadness onto this is even an 11-year-old that isn't neurodivergent is still a vulnerable kid but can kind of navigate. An 11-year-old with the cognitive fee of a toddler,
Mm-hmm.
they're so helpless and defenseless. And the fact that he likes to go into things and close doors and
Yeah.
et cetera, that's scary.
He's also said to be frightened of people that he doesn't know. One of the things that we'll hear is in the police press releases informing Calgarians of what to look out for. It's been said in almost every one of them is don't approach him. Just keep your eyes on him and call 911 and keep watching him until we arrive. Because if you go over there and talk to him, he may very well take off. But let's get into it a little bit more. You've already mentioned the day home. I've never heard of that term. It came up in some of the early press releases about his disappearance. In just some basic cursory Google searching, I've learned that day home is a term for in-home care in Alberta. We don't use that term in Nova Scotia. I don't know if the term day home is used. We would call it in-home care or an in-home daycare.
See, yeah, so you and I were both kind of confused. When I heard day home, I assumed an in-home daycare. I just assumed he was, a kid in a regular daycare that had autism. I didn't realize that the facility or program he was in was like for special needs.
Yeah, I'll read you a bit about the facility he was in and the place that was looking after him. It is still a little bit unclear, though, because the company behind the day home that was looking after Parker at the time he disappeared, they have a few different types of facilities they operate. They didn't explicitly say what type was actually looking after Parker, but I'll read you a little bit about them. The name of the company is Responsive Children's Support Limited, and they're a social services organization based in Calgary. The agency specializes in providing specialized care and support for children and youth with developmental disabilities and complex needs. They offer progressive residential supports such as 24-hour staffed community homes that serve 1 to 4 youth, focusing on stability and daily life skills, and also responsive respite services, which is temporary relief options for families, including in-home support and facility-based respite care through their Kids Hotel program. I don't know which of the two Parker was staying at. They didn't explicitly say, but either way, regardless of which type, these facilities are staffed by human services professionals who typically hold degrees in social work or child and youth care, and they carry specialized certifications in crisis intervention, among other things. So this isn't just your run-of-the-mill average nice lady down the street who runs an in-home daycare. These are professionals providing specialized daycare to people with special and unique needs. Where he was is where someone with his catalog of needs should be safe.
And it's unfortunate that that's the case. He should be safe where he is or was, and that wasn't the case. Something super similar happened in Regina not long ago. And 8-year-old autistic boy wandered away from it was a school, but for special needs kids. And I hate to get political, but it comes down to funding for these places.
Yeah. In this place that Parker was at, the Responsive Children's Support Limited, they are funded by the Alberta government. But as far as what happened, how he escaped, how he got out of there, a lot of people online are already pointing the finger. This company should be investigated and charged. We really don't know much of anything yet about what actually led to his disappearance. The company did issue a press release that I'll read shortly. But just to give you the timeline of his disappearance and what we know, there's very little that we do know. This is going on now for 10 days at the time that we're recording this. But I'll tell you right up the front, only 1 hour of Parker's movements after leaving are accounted for. So this all happens Thursday, the 16th of July. I'll tell you, it's a very hot day. Last Thursday, it was 28 degrees, but with the humidity, it would have felt more like 32 degrees. Ooh. So we're talking about a scorching hot summer day in Calgary. Sometime between 11:08 a.m. and 11:41 a.m., Parker was last seen at the day home. So he leaves some point within those two numbers, 11:08 and 11:41. As we'll hear later, it's described as he suddenly left. But we don't know the significance of these two times, like why 11:08 and 11:41? When during that, why can't they narrow it down further? None of that has been revealed other than between 11:08 and 11:41, he left with his headphones on, wearing shorts and black shoes, and seemed to just walk out of there suddenly. But we don't know the circumstances of this. But what do you make of at some point between 11:08 and 11:41?
I'm imagining they're like piecing together what they can see of him and like maybe which exit he went out of. I don't know.
Yes, it could be possible. I was also thinking it could have been something as simple as there are certain times that they have to, document doing one thing or the other, and maybe, at 11:08 Parker's accounted for, at 11:41 he isn't, so sometime within that window he left. But in all of the press releases,
half an hour seems like a long time to me.
Yeah, I would have thought a center that specializes in unique needs like Parker's, I thought that couldn't be possible. And again, he's 11, but don't let that fool you. He functions like a 2 to 4-year-old. So if you had a bunch of 2 to 4-year-olds in a daycare center, they shouldn't be able to leave suddenly, you would think. But let's track the timeline a little bit more. So between 11:08 and 11:41 a.m., he leaves. The daycare center, they didn't give the exact address, and I'm calling it a daycare center. It's a day home. It's on the 100 block of Connaught Drive Northwest in Calgary. It's not like a rural, out of nowhere area. When you look at it on Google Maps, it looks like it's in a typical residential area outside of the downtown core of Calgary. So he leaves between 11:08 and 11:41. Around noon, so let's say 20 to 40-ish minutes after he left the daycare center, an article of his clothing was found on Northmount Drive Northwest, which is about 3 kilometers away. An article of clothing that I'm going to guess is a t-shirt, because in everything that happens after this, he's seen without a t-shirt on. And that's part of the reason why I mentioned the temperature off the bat. So he leaves about 20 to 40-ish minutes later. An article of clothing is found 3 kilometers away, which is about a 20 to 40-minute walk. So it would make sense he walked straight out that way, dropped the shirt, which I'm assuming is a shirt. They haven't said specifically. He's then filmed on security camera at 12:34 p.m. In an area McKnight Boulevard and Center Street. This surveillance footage was released by the Calgary Police Services, and it's basically just him walking down a sidewalk. He has the headphones on. He now has no shirt on. About 15 minutes later, at 12:52 p.m., he's captured on a home security camera in the 5 to 6,000 block of Travis Crescent Northeast. And that's the last time he's seen. This is a little over an hour after he went missing, and 4 kilometers away, which is about an hour walk. This one's I find it a little disturbing to watch, but maybe that's just knowing that it's the last time he's seen. It looks like it's a security camera like on a front of a house pointed at like where their driveway and where their vehicles park. You see Parker walk down the sidewalk with the headphones, no shirt. And as he walks like past their car on the sidewalk and he's like in straight view of the camera, he kind of like grabs his face and maybe rubs his eyes a little bit, almost looks like out of frustration. And then he just continues walking down the sidewalk. And from that moment on, the remaining 10 days that follow up till present day, there is no sign of Parker Wells, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me.
It is. It's mind-boggling because in 2026, Calgary, Alberta has over 1 million people in it. No one else has seen him on like security cameras, dash cams, nothing. Also, I have a little bit of an issue that within the hour of like him walking, if you see a photo of Parker, he's clearly has special needs. So you see a child with noise canceling headphones wandering shirtless down the road and you don't stop.
I thought about that as well, but the way I play it through in my mind is I think he is 11. So if I'm just driving by, if it was like a small little kid, it would maybe stand out more.
Yeah.
But it's a summer day. He's wearing shorts. If I'm driving by those noise canceling headphones, I'm going to think he's listening to music walking down the street.
That's true. Hindsight's 2020, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Driving by, I don't think I'd notice. Walking by, maybe it would stand out to me. But still, If I'm walking by and he passes me, I probably think he just lives a couple houses down and don't think anything of it. If I knew there was a missing kid, it'd be a different story.
Of course.
Yeah. Let's move on a bit. But before I do, I will say the timeline that I just gave was kind of the main moments and the main sightings. There are a few other points between these that appear on a map that the Calgary Police Services have released showing Parker's confirmed and expected movements. And it basically, what they have done is they took every reported sighting of Parker and they piece it together and they give an idea of the route he took. And it's all kind of within this. It seems like he walks from his daycare about 3 kilometers away to where that article of clothing was found. And then he's just kind of roaming around this neighborhood, with the last sighting being the one I described on Travis Crescent. So anyone who wants to get more detail, if you search the Calgary Police Service map, you'll see the map of his confirmed and expected route and sightings. But now let's move on to the first call out for information. So not long after he's been reported missing, the police issue one of those standard press releases where it has his name, it was just his first name, Parker, a basic description and a basic area. It says that he has a medical condition. It doesn't go into detail of all this stuff. It's just kind of the basics. And, call the police if you see this guy. So that went out as a press release the day he went missing. But when he's not found that night, the second day of searching for him is when things really heat up. I'm going to play a news clip of the police appealing for information and slowly starting to reveal more about the circumstances of Parker's disappearance.
A massive search is underway to find 11-year-old Parker, last spotted more than 24 hours ago.
He's had plenty of time to move. So we were asking that the entire city of Calgary check their yards, check their sheds, check their garages, check their hot tubs, check their pools, check their open vehicles, their RVs, any place where a child may go. We're asking everyone in the city of Calgary to check that. And given the amount of time he's been missing, I will confirm that he is autistic and functions between a 2 and 3-year-old level, which is why we are expanding our efforts to find him and why we see this as such an important endeavor. I've just met with Parker's parents, and they are incredibly distraught. They are going through an unspeakable amount of emotional turmoil right now, and we want to help them the best that we can.
So I think when someone goes missing, especially when it's a kid, the police don't want to reveal too much personal information. I think he's justifying, the cop we hear in that clip, I think he's justifying revealing this medical information and going a few steps further by it's, we're now on the second day and this, this is bad. And it's pretty clear that this is bad, even 2 days in.
Just given the timeline and everyone checking their houses and everything, he should have been found by now.
Mm-hmm.
He could have only gotten so far, and there's only so many places. So we're past alarm bells.
Oh, yeah. They're encouraging people, check your yards, check your properties, check places he may hide or he may have gone in. So I believe their theory from the very beginning is that he wandered for a while. The heat probably was getting to him, and they think that he must have gone somewhere to get out of the heat.
Well, and he's probably scared.
Scared, confused, hot, and dehydrated. And I'm 40-something, but if I'm out walking for an hour on a 30-degree day, at the end of that hour, I am exhausted.
Like, the sun is no joke.
Absolutely no joke. Let's take our first break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the public notification of Parker's disappearance. So we just went through, I guess, the first day and a half-ish of Parker's disappearance. It seems the police theory is that he's roaming around and maybe found a spot to cool down or hide. It would be really great if there was a way to just notify everyone in Calgary. If you see a little boy walking around shirtless with noise-canceling headphones on, call us right away. It would be great if they could issue some kind of an alert telling everybody that. You probably know where I'm going.
I do. And I've been looking forward to this conversation because it's a conversation that comes up anytime a child unfortunately goes missing. And it's just, A dead horse hates to see this topic coming.
Yeah, this is what surprises me. I'll tell you, in Nova Scotia, we have all these different alerts that you get on your phone. We call them emergency alerts. So that could be, there's a fire, there's a guy with a gun that the police are trying to get. And you'll get a notice everyone will get this like buzzing sound, and then you get the little message on your phone letting you know what to look out for or where not to go, or, whatever the case may be. And in Nova Scotia,
we have the same kind of system.
You get the same kind of thing, yeah. And it seems like they have the same kind of thing in Alberta, but in Nova Scotia, we have something, I think they call it a vulnerable persons alert. So that's, there's a missing child, there's a missing disabled person, there's a missing senior. Look out for them. And every so often, like I think it was only maybe 2.5 weeks ago or so, I got one late at night. It was like I don't know, it was 4 a.m. or something. And it was like a 90-year-old man was unaccounted for.
Oh.
And, we got these alerts. Every so often I'll see people complain about these alerts.
Ugh,
but if you get that alert and you're driving down the street and you see a 90-year-old man, you're like, okay, he's missing. And I would have thought, as soon as Parker went missing, if everybody got an alert as he's walking around town, someone would have found him. And I think an 11-year-old neurodivergent kid who operates like a 2 to 3-year-old, I think that's a worthwhile thing to notify everyone about. Within minutes of him going missing from a day home, that it would make sense to notify everyone. It seems like they don't have anything like that in Alberta, but what they do, of course, have is an Amber Alert. And that's what comes up all the time. I think the average person, the term Amber Alert for many people seems to be synonymous with missing children, but it isn't. An Amber Alert is for notifying people of an abduction of a child.
Right.
And in the early,
and I'm not saying there shouldn't be an alert. Absolutely. Yeah. But it should be different.
Yeah, the Amber Alert shouldn't be used as a placeholder for all missing children alert. I just feel like Alberta needs a separate alert. But let's spend a bit of time on this, because Calgary police have released several press releases, pretty much one a day as Parker was missing, since Parker's been missing, informing the public. The first two end with something along the lines of, there's nothing to indicate foul play is involved. Although this case does not meet the government Alberta's legislative threshold for an Amber Alert, we're working with our partners at the Missing Children Society to issue an alert in hopes of locating Parker. So the press releases are saying, like, there's not an Amber Alert, it doesn't meet that, but we're, looking into what we can do. They say in the press releases there's no evidence of foul play. I looked into what the requirements for an Amber Alert are in Alberta. There are 4 criteria, and all 4 need to be met. The first one is a child or an adult with a mental or physical disability has been abducted. The second requirement is that they need to be in danger of serious harm or death. The third one is that there needs to be enough descriptive information to enable the public to identify the child, abductor, or mode of transportation. And the fourth one is that there needs to be a reasonable expectation the abductee could be returned or the abductor could be apprehended. So what an Amber Alert's for is, there's a custody dispute and the dad takes the kid and it seems like he's going to do harm for the kid and he's driving his truck so they can notify the public of all that information. Parker's case, when you look at those criteria, it certainly wouldn't meet those criteria. Yet despite that, and I've never seen this happen before in my 10 plus years of covering missing persons cases in Canada, despite it not qualifying, the province of Alberta issued an exception and allowed an Amber Alert to go out in his case. I've never seen this happen. Maybe let's talk for a minute about that before I play the clip. Were you surprised to see an Amber Alert? Because I was shocked.
I was. I couldn't believe it because, this is also the first time I've ever seen this. I think, but like, how hard is it to just like create an alert at the drop of a hat?
Yeah.
Come on, you guys. Post on Facebook. Do something.
Yeah.
It can't take that long.
Yeah. Well, posting on Facebook reaches a certain amount of people. Going on the news reaches a certain amount of people. The police were doing that. The difference with the alert is if it had have happened within an hour of him being missing.
That's true.
He would have been wandering around. But the alert was issued just after 1:30 p.m. on Saturday. So it was just after like his second day missing. But let's hear that news clip that I teased earlier. This news clip discusses should there have been an alert sooner.
Police say crews have walked over 6,500 kilometers searching for Parker since Thursday, but concerns have been raised over how his disappearance was handled in those first 2 days.
I'm a bit disappointed with that. I think a child missing should have an Amber Alert all the time.
The criteria for issuing an Amber Alert varies from province to province, but generally police need evidence that a child has been abducted before activating the system. In Parker's case, there is no evidence of an abduction, but 2 days after his disappearance, the provincial government decided to issue an Amber Alert anyways.
Well, to me, this shows that our provincial government acknowledged that there are times when the alert is the alert criteria is just too rigid.
Following the disappearance of 6-year-old Darius McDougall in southern Alberta last year, a case that saw no Amber Alert used, Ronald de Gagne launched a petition asking the rules change so that police are given the final say. The provincial government says it will review its Amber Alert criteria in the months to come.
We just want to do whatever we can. I just feel so bad for his family.
As the city focuses on bringing Parker home.
I find it hard to believe Alberta doesn't have an emergency alert system similar to Saskatchewan or Nova Scotia.
They have one, just not one for like a missing vulnerable child, it seems. I'm sorry.
But why? If you can issue an alert for a tornado or for an active shooter, etc., that's as simple as going into a computer, typing up what you want to put into the alert and hitting send.
Yeah. I think it's so frustrating, and I think this is a case that's a great example or a perfect example of why something like that's needed, because issuing it 2 days later, it's way too long to issue an alert. If he's roaming
after 48 hours,
if he's roaming around Calgary in those hours, operating at the ability of a 2 or 3-year-old, people need to know right away, so the guy who's driving by and sees him knows to stop. 2 days later, I would hardly even remember who I saw 2 days back to notify the police of it.
Well, and especially if you weren't looking.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If you were, it's just another person.
But in that news clip, they're talking about like, we're going to revisit, the requirements for an Amber Alert. I don't think they need to do that. I think the Amber Alert makes sense for its purpose. There needs to be an alert for missing and vulnerable children and seniors and whatnot. It's
and this discourse comes up every single time.
See it so often.
A child goes missing, and I've said that this is probably the 5th time I've said that. Mm-hmm. But nothing ever is implemented.
Yeah.
Nothing ever changes.
Well, because a big brouhaha comes up when something like this happens, and then it goes away when people move on to the next thing. But let's move. We're not going to solve Alberta's Amber Alert crisis here, other than to say that they did eventually issue one 2 days later. But let's move on now. We've heard the timeline of Parker's disappearance. The Amber Alert's out. We have a lot of questions about how he got out of the day home. I was kind of surprised to see this, but the company responsible or that runs the day home did release a short statement, but it really doesn't answer any questions I have. I'll read you the statement in full. On behalf of Supported Lifestyles Limited and Responsive Children's Supports, we'd like to thank all the volunteers, the media, the police services, and search and rescue for their continued efforts to find Parker Wells. Parker was in the care of one of Responsive Children's Supports locations on July 16th. Parker made a sudden exit from the property and 911 was called in response. Staff members followed company policy and procedures and immediately went out in search of Parker. Our thoughts are with the family during this difficult time. We're very hopeful that Parker will be found safe and back with his family. So really the only thing they say in there, other than, we feel bad and we're thankful for everyone, is that they say that he left suddenly. And again, we know that sudden exit was between 11:08 and 11:41. It seems like staff members followed the company policy to call 911 and go after him. And that's really all we know.
And I mean, what else are they going to say?
Yeah.
The only thing worse would be not saying anything at all.
Yeah. Do you think that short message or that short release was reviewed by a lawyer before it went out?
I would bet my left kidney on it. Mm-hmm. That's how sure I am.
Let's hear a statement with quite a bit more emotion than that one. On the 18th of July, so right around the time that the Amber Alert went out, Parker's family released a statement thanking the public for their support and giving a bit more information on Parker and, what exactly is going on here. You want to read this one?
Sure. Parker is a loved son, brother, and friend. Our family is heartbroken by his disappearance. Since he went missing, our family has been living every parent's worst nightmare. Every hour that passes without knowing where he is or whether he is safe has been incredibly difficult for us. We are asking everyone in the community to keep an eye out for Parker. Please check your neighborhoods, parks, green spaces, yards, sheds, garages, hot tubs, and other places where he may have found shelter. Parker experiences the world in his own way. He may not respond when his name is called, and he can become frightened when approached by people he does not know. If you see Parker, please do not approach him. Give him space and call police immediately. Give him space and call police immediately with his location. A single sighting, a piece of video footage, or a small detail could help bring him home safely. Our only wish right now is to know that he is safe and to bring him home. The support from our community has been overwhelming. To everyone who has searched, shared his photo, provided information, or kept Parker in your thoughts, thank you. Knowing that so many people care and are looking out for our son has given us strength during the most difficult time of our lives. Parker is deeply loved and he is missed immensely. We just want our son home. Ugh.
It's heartbreaking.
Like just the unknown, right? Like their poor baby is, you hate seeing your baby even sick.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to take that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not knowing if, like they said, not knowing if he's safe or every scenario imaginable has gone through their heads.
Mm-hmm.
And that's torture.
And the first night would have been horrible. Imagine the seventh and the eighth night. It must just be absolutely agonizing. And like we said from the beginning of the episode, I could never truly imagine what it's like. Because my comparable moments are just as you say. My kid, like he has a flu. One of my kids will have a flu, and it breaks my heart. And I want to just, I would take a bullet for him, for either of my kids, a million times if I had to, And it's
right.
just to see something,
it's unfathomable.
Yeah, to see something or to have something like this out of your control and as abstract as a missing persons case being playing out. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's unfathomable, and I can't even put it into words other than it breaks my heart to think of a situation like this happening.
I'll guarantee you his parents haven't slept for 10 days. Mm-hmm. Like, I would have to be medicated. They would have to sedate me.
Well, I hope they are, because it's a parent. You're not cut out. You're not built to deal with that.
No, and when you're so helpless, like you're out of the control. No, that's not fair.
Let's take our second and final break, and when we get back, we will catch up to present day with what's going on in this case. And there's a few moments during the search that I want to kind of touch on and spend a little bit more time on. But let's take a quick break, and then we'll get into that. So Madeline, we're recording this on the 10th day of searching for Parker. I'll try to get us right up to present day, but things are changing all the time. From this morning until now, there's even been a slight change in the search, but I'm going to read you a little bit about where the police are in this case as of this morning. So what they say, and I'm reading from one of their statements, as time remains critical, and given Parker's history of entering structures and locking doors behind him, we're asking anyone who may be aware of vacant properties or homeowners who are away for an extended period of time in the following areas to contact police. And they list 6 streets. I'm not going to read them off. If you live in the Thornhill area of Calgary, go to the Calgary Police website and you'll find some information on this. So they list the streets, and then they also say, we continue to ask all residents to thoroughly check properties and realtors and property managers to ensure any vacant properties have been searched. We continue to ask anyone in the Thorncliffe area who has CCTV footage or residential security cameras or dash cam footage from July 16th, that's the day he went missing, regardless of whether or not Parker's in it, to submit the footage through our upload link. And they have a spot on their website where you can, on the Calgary Police website, where you can upload footage. So what they're saying is if you have any footage of anything in that neighborhood, they're putting together a timeline even of where they can see that he isn't to try to narrow down, which property he may be.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Because it seems like their theory is that he's just in someone's yard hiding out, or whatever. And that's why they're asking everyone to check your yards, double check your yards. If there's a vacant property and you're a real estate agent trying to sell it, go check it. If you can't check it and because you check your home because you're away on vacation, call us and we'll send someone to check it. So they're just all over these neighborhoods trying to check places. And there is a dark side of that because they also released a press release. I want to read you a section of this. That won't surprise you that some people are taking this too far, but here's a part of this press release. We've become aware of individuals attending private residences, confronting residents, and encouraging others through social media to investigate criminal tips. The behavior is unacceptable and is putting community members at risk. Everyone wants to find Parker, and we understand that emotions are involved, but showing up at a private home and confronting residents or organizing your own investigations will hinder our efforts and draw police resources away from the search and the investigation. Doesn't really surprise me that that's happening.
Berta. That's all I got to
Alberta.
say about that.
Yeah.
Berta.
When there's a missing persons case, it's rare that so much of the messaging is on searching your yards. It's so unique that the Calgary Police Service has released a series of videos that kind of outlines what they want people to do and what they're doing. I'm going to play you a moment of the Calgary Police Service video about how exactly they want you to search your property. This just gives a sense of what's actually going on there.
Over the years, I've found missing people in all sorts of places that didn't make sense to me, but at the time made sense to that person. That's why we're asking you to look all over your property. Places that you might not normally think to check would be barbecue. These cabinets are plenty big enough for a small person to hide, especially if they don't have shelves inside. So take a minute, check inside. If you have a barbecue cover, lift it off, look under there. Another great place to check is inside any water feature, hot tub, pond, or pool that you may have. Open the cover, have a complete look. Do you have any weird collections or piles of old junk lying around your property, like this stack of tires? Take a minute, have a quick check inside. Another good spot to check is under your deck. Take a moment, if you have anything that opens, actually look. If it's dark, grab a flashlight and really have a good look. Make sure you can see end to end. Take a couple moments to look under any tarps, inside any large landscaping bags, or around any piles of wood or yard debris you may have stacked up on your property. Other places to check on your property include any bins you may have that store water, garbage, or recycling. Take a couple seconds and have a quick look. And of course, sheds. Now, if you have a cluttered shed or it's full, do us a favor, take an extra couple seconds and actually walk inside and move some things around.
When you see the police, like everyone check your yards, I can imagine people looking out their back window, but they mean like lift stuff up, look under stuff. Because again, anywhere an 11-year-old kid could climb into is where he likely is.
Right. And this is great that they're doing that because, the average person would just, look in all the obvious places, a rain barrel, under your deck. Nope, not here. But this also just adds to the layer of absurdity that he hasn't been found. Like everyone is on board with searching for this kid and he's nowhere. It's just, that poor kid.
And when you look at like this map that shows his expected route and his sightings, it's all in these a couple blocks. With everything we know, it seems like he's just in something within a couple streets. And the fact that
he's hiding in plain sight.
It seems it, but so many people are looking like in the, day one and day two, I was thinking he's just sitting in a shed or he's, under a tarp next to a wood pile or something like that, just sitting there. But if so, I think someone would have found him by now. I'm going to play another clip here that gives a sense of how in-depth and intense the police investigation is, because they have hundreds of officers on this using every technology you could imagine, in addition to hundreds of search and rescue people, in addition to a good chunk of the city of Calgary is working to find Parker.
Police say more than 550 officers have been involved in a ground search that's covered over 7,000 kilometers, while more than 100 investigators continue to canvass houses and review security footage, as officers use every tool at their disposal to locate the little boy.
With the K9 unit deployed to help out on the Parker search.
Mounted Patrol is capable of covering up 14 to 20 kilometers
per day.
The drone, with its high zoom camera or its thermal capabilities, basically does the work of potentially several dozen people on the ground.
The Calgary Fire Department aquatics and technical rescue teams are searching difficult-to-access areas and nearby bodies of water, and the exemption granted to trigger an Amber Alert was extended Wednesday to make sure all Calgarians are looking for Parker.
They're checking everywhere, and 500 officers assigned to this case. That's a huge operation, especially when the majority of it seems to be focused in this one neighborhood.
In Regina last week, a 12, a 13, and a 14-year-old were issued like $3,900 in traffic tickets because they evaded police on their e-bikes. And our aerial police team like tracked them into their houses.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we find Parker? This is crazy.
I think that delay of an hour or two before all hands are on deck, I think that's going to be a part of it. Because if he's roaming around the city, security cameras, dash cams, that stuff's going to pick him up. Where he's only picked up for that first hour in a bit, it would seem to me that around the time he was last seen, he must have went somewhere where you couldn't see him anymore, like in a shed or in someone's car or in an abandoned house or something. And that would kind of explain why he disappears off the face of the earth, and it would also explain why all this stuff isn't picking him up.
That's true. I never thought of that.
Here's the thing, and this is awful to think about. The police just can't go kicking down doors and finding him. What if there's just one prick who just doesn't care and doesn't check his yard?
Oh, for sure. And there's probably a couple. Or, people that just really don't pay attention to, maybe they're not off the grid. That's not the right word I'm looking for, but like, they just really they're not connected. They don't know.
Yeah.
People like that exist.
Maybe they're going door to door canvassing. So I wonder if they can specifically ask, but whatever, like, I don't think you and I are.
I think in a situation like this, they can like enter your yard and look.
I would hope so. But I don't think you and I are going to come up with anything they didn't think of yet, because it, again, is an all hands on deck thing. The most recent update I have, so we've pretty much caught right up to present day. The most recent update I have that I can share is, so we're recording this Saturday at just about 5 p.m. Atlantic time. The most recent update is that the police have had kind of like a headquarters where they've been organizing the search, and it was at a school in the Thornhill area of Calgary, and that's the area where Parker was last seen and the area where the majority of the search has been focused. They've moved that search headquarters from there to another area called Nose Hill Park, which is a large like outdoor natural park. It's a couple kilometers, I think a little over, maybe about 2 kilometers away from where he was last seen. They've moved the search headquarters over to there. They did issue a statement about this, and it says, "The west parking lot and trail entrance off Shaganappy Trail Northwest are closed throughout the weekend while search teams are working in the area. We stress that this closure doesn't mean Parker has been found or that any information places him there. This closure is simply to allow our search crews to work safely and efficiently." So, and when you look at this natural park from, like, if you go on Google Maps and explore Calgary, it's a little bit of a ways away from where he went missing, but it is a large wooded area. So maybe it just seems like, this is somewhere we didn't search. So it could make sense.
I mean, at this point, they're doing anything they can. And what else do you do other than to just keep searching?
Mm-hmm. It's a heartbreaking story. It's one that I never thought would go on this long, 10 days in. I think we've made it clear that you and I both, our thoughts are with Parker and Parker's family. My gratitude's with everyone searching. The police, search and rescue, like they're a lot of them are parents just like us, and they feel the same way. People are taking an all hands on deck approach to this. So it's just, I just hope too much time hasn't passed. I guess I'll say that.
No, and I don't think it has. What we can't lose is hope.
I want to end with a voicemail and a topic that is new to me that I'm learning about through Parker's story. I guess it's a phenomena of eloping. I want to play a voicemail from a listener named Joel.
My heart goes out to the family looking for the little boy out in Calgary. the autistic 11-year-old. We have an autistic son who is 7. He also elopes, which means running away. And what we've done in a very small investment, in $30 on a monthly recurring, he wears a tracking device that is better, more reliable than most. It's from a little company called Project Lifesaver. If there's anything you can do to get the word out about them, they are housed throughout the country. Here in Nova Scotia, you can find them in Kentville. We never had to visit them, and they're phenomenal to work for, and the peace of mind that we get, and all the ground search and rescue and police are trained to track it. So I just thought that was a message worth leaving with you, and hopes that you would share with your listeners.
So there's kind of two things in there to hear about. So first of all, thank you, Joel, because you're providing insight from personal experience, which Madeleine and I don't have. Eloping, I've never heard of. But when I read about it, it's what's going on in this case. I'll read you a little bit about it. Eloping in autism refers to a child or an adult wandering, running away, or bolting from a safe environment without permission. It's a critical safety issue affecting roughly half of autistic individuals. People elope to escape overwhelming sensory situations, communicate frustration, or pursue specific interests. Because elopement can expose individuals to severe dangers like traffic accidents, incidents, or drowning, it requires a multi-layered approach to management and prevention. So eloping and elopement, it's a phenomenon like uniquely affecting people like Parker. And it's what's happened. He left, he bolted for some reason. Maybe it was overstimulation, the noise or whatever. Maybe he just had something on his mind and wanted to go do it. We don't know. There's various reasons someone would elope. But that opens the door to a discussion about trackers.
This is amazing. I had no idea any sort of program like that existed or company like that existed. But it is such a great and important thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is great.
It makes people put trackers in your suitcase and stuff when you're traveling. It's having it on your kids. This story has made me want to just get, in my case, my kids aren't high risk for something like this. I'm just going to get some Apple AirTags and put one in each of my kids' shoes. Parker, his unique needs and someone in his situation, they would benefit from something more advanced like what Joel described using for his kid. But I think this could be a wake-up call for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And I think more people need to know that exists, because I sure didn't. Mm-hmm. And, I think in this day and age, even a cheap tracker is still pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm. Other than a solution in Parker's story and an end to it, I think there's going to be a lot to learn about how he got out, what the initial response was from the police, because we don't know too much about that. There's still a lot we don't know. But
and you know what? Maybe they know. And that's not important right now. What's important is he's missing.
Yeah.
So they don't want to cloud anyone's vision. Mm-hmm. They probably know what happened. There's probably a ton of security footage.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
But they just need to focus on finding him first. And nothing else matters.
And I think that's a lot of the discussion online. There's a lot of people who are looking for blame and trying to, figure all that out. There'll be a time and a place for that. But before everyone grabs their pitchforks and goes after whoever, let's first grab our flashlights and form a search party. I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Canadian Gothic. I want to give a huge and sincere thank you to everyone out there searching for Parker. And I want to also express my deepest condolences for everyone close to this. It's a horrific event, but hope for a positive outcome is not yet lost. Now, with that said, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, I have some thanks to pass out. First, a big thank you to Madeleine for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of the Canadian Gothic. I want to thank Monty Datta, who contributes the music for the show, and Linz from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides the intro and outro voiceovers. But then lastly, and most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed, Megan, Kelly, and Nicola. We appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes 2 days early, get them to you ad-free, and give you access to a back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by sharing it with like-minded friends and letting them know they should listen. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, let's wrap it up here. Till next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let's hope this story ends well and ends well soon.
Thank you for listening to Canadian Gothic.
I don't want to compare this with the other case we've been covering involving missing children of Jack and Lily, but I think in my mind, this is a completely different story.
Oh, absolutely. It's apples and oranges. Yeah, I have been struggling to not bring them up as well because it is apples and oranges, but it's crazy that in 2026, these kids can just go missing and without a trace.